So my name's Rory, and this is the first episode of the AFF podcast. The reason I'm making this podcast is basically to go through my struggles and to help other people that maybe have sort of the same struggles as me and are struggling, which would be with mental health, addiction, and trauma. And we'll go through what the steps that I took from getting help, hoping that other people will be able to use them to get help, and also just bring people on to maybe share their experiences, and so that they can come on and maybe help other people that have different topics that I wouldn't have experienced before, and yeah, just have a good chat and basically move on. So I'll start off just as I was growing up. I'm 23 years old from East Belfast in Northern Ireland. I grew up from a good background, played sport my whole life, went to good school, went to Instance in Belfast. It was an academic school, played sport all throughout school. Um, was kind of got to 14, 13, 14, the early ages of teenagers. I started dabbling in drugs, smoking weed and stuff like that there, which then over the next few years escalated into me actually becoming a heavy addict on stronger drugs. So as I was getting involved in that sort of scenario, I got myself in debt. My mental health was through the floor. I had fake friends. I built this kind of fake profile of who I wasn't, but thought I wanted to be. Um, and yeah, it took a long time to break down throughout this process of going through drugs and addiction. I ended up going to prison, which is actually where like my parents and my family first encountered this. I had hid it my whole life. They'd never come across it before. They'd never, my mum and dad actually had never even taken drugs before, so it was a very new thing for our family. So I think, as you can understand, I was shitting myself, at the start. Actually, when I went into prison, I didn't even ring my mum and dad because I was scared of, what they were going to say. It got to that. It was kind of that level of fear at the time of being caught, and it wasn't necessarily the fear of the punishment because I knew what I was doing was wrong, and I knew that was always a possibility. It was the feeling of fear of losing my family and losing friends and relationships and stuff like that there. So fast forward, as got out of prison, it took me a while to build my mental health back up. I got involved with alternatives NI, which were life-saving for me. They got me put on a restorative program, which is where I went and learned about how drugs hurt me, but also how they hurt the community, how they hurt my family, how they hurt just loads of different aspects. And it made me realize, it is such a big issue in the world, not just Northern Ireland. People can get hung up and caught into the wrong situations, and it can lead into serious consequences. So it can do in some places. So yeah, as I built up, went through the restorative program, I was struggling majorly with my mental health. I've attempted suicide several times. So I was at extreme low and complete rock bottom. Alternatives got me put into therapy with Emmett. He was fantastic. It was just clicked straight away. I felt comfortable opening up. He was able to help me. Anxiety was my main issue. I had anxiety 24/7, couldn't sleep, couldn't even hold a conversation with people at that stage. Now, obviously, looking how far I've come, I'm doing this, which is obviously a huge step forward. I kind of working on myself, building a relationship back up with myself, finding out who I want to be, and I actually ended up growing a really big interest in the space of mental health and addiction and trauma, and that's all I watch on YouTube. It's all I learn about now. It's worrying for me. I always say, like, when I have kids, I want them to be better off than I was, and I don't mean financially. I want my kids to be able to come and speak to me. I want my kids to be able to talk, about issues, about their mental health, and that can be completely different then, but that's what I want to bring up in the next generation, which I'm hoping that doing this podcast will connect with a lot of young people and realize that there is help out there. There is places to go and talk, and you're not all big and cool taking drugs and partying the weekend. Because yeah, some people taking the weekend, you're naive to think that people won't go out and party, but there's people like me that they can't stop after that one weekend, and it's a knock-on effect, and especially at a young age, you can't afford to keep taking it. So yeah, that's kind of the podcast, is to bring out and show awareness, and hopefully get through to people, especially younger people, that there is help, and people slip up, people make mistakes. You take drugs, you're not necessarily a bad person. There can be a lot more behind it that you don't even realize. So yeah, throughout doing talks and stuff on this, I've done a few speaking to youth groups and stuff now. It led to me going to the One Young World, which was an experience that I never thought that I would have. Basically, One Young World is where they bring 197 different countries, 2,000 plus people that have interest in the crises that are going on in the world. I got the I was actually a peace ambassador through SEUPB, which scholared me to go to that. And yeah, I struggled, to be honest, with a lot of imposter syndrome through that. I was there a year ago. I was a drug addict. I was sitting in trouble. With the police and all that there, and you're sitting in a room with CEOs and people that have gone to uni and studied, and it was quite an overwhelming feeling. But what I came to learn about was that my life experiences are worthy of being there. Now I'm trying to help people. I am worthy to sit in the same room as some of these people, because of where I've achieved to go, and well, the main thing I really want to get out there is, if I'm able to do it, any of yous are able to do it. I was just a normal kid who ended up going down the wrong path and getting involved in the wrong thing, and it took a really big toll in my life. But a bad day isn't a bad life. A bad year isn't a bad life. There is time to turn it around. What I always hear Gary V saying, I'm 22. I say I lived to 64. I'm gonna live my life another three times. There's a lot of time, a lot of change. There's no rush, and yeah. So I hope you can join me on my journey throughout the podcast. I'm hoping to get some really good, influential people on. A lot of people maybe that have gone through their own experiences. If there's any questions, please drop below that you would like me to answer, maybe in a later podcast as well. And yeah, thanks for listening. Like, comment, and share, and I look forward to seeing you in the next podcast. Thank you.